For the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Alongside ESPN's John Anderson, here's Emmy Award winner Homer.
The best 60 minutes of your day, the John Anderson Homer Hour. I just have questions. I want to do the whole hour just asking him questions. I want to know what he thinks. However, I can't do that because the best segment is always when Jason Wilde and the professor himself, 7'2½" John Anderson, chat back and forth. So that limits how many questions I can get in. Professor, always nice to have you. I know you're busy. I don't know what the busy time is for professors and when the unbusy time is. I always thought the summer you don't do anything, but that's probably inaccurate.
Well, the good news is the semester is over. It finished Thursday. I got all my things graded. The classes are done. The grades have been posted. And so I'm done with that for a little while, which is kind of nice.
All right, now let's do a follow-up. Your experience, how much of it was just what you thought? What was different? Take it away.
It was terrific, right? I enjoyed all of it. It was great fun. I think it was kind of fun to watch the kids actually make progress, which I don't know if I helped or they just ran into it. A little more time consuming than I thought. Grading took up a great deal of time, which, I mean, I knew there would be some of it, didn't quite expect it to be that long. Some of maybe that's just me, maybe I'm wordy. But it was there's nothing about it that discouraged me from thinking I had made the wrong decision leaving ESPN, or that makes me want to not anticipate and wait for the fall to start up again. It was great.
And what are kids like? That's the big question when you're old. I mean, you're not old like me, but you're closer to old.
Funny.
Are they different or what? Everybody says, I don't even know what they call them. Are gems, Xers, Ys? I don't even know what.
Yeah, I don't know what letter we're on or what it was, whatever they're in. So I don't know. But I did. We were doing a thing the last couple of days in the last week, and one of it was sort of on this implicit bias that maybe we all have because we all grow up in a certain way and we all see certain things. And at one point we did something age-wise, and it dawned on me that if you took any three of those kids and added up their age, they were still younger than I was.
Yeah.
And I had them, like I said, okay, so if I'm 60, am I closer in age to your parents or your grandparents? And it was a little alarming when so many of them moved over to the side that I was closer in age to their grandparents than their parents. So I'm like, good thing I didn't ask that at the beginning of the year, so you thought your grandfather was teaching your class. But I didn't find them especially different. They certainly weren't difficult. They showed up. All my attendance was good. They looked like they gave decent effort. I didn't find them to be whiny or excuse makers, or they just drink way more coffee and it's way more expensive than we did I did when I was in school. But other than that, it was pretty much all the same.
Did you have any complaint?
Not that I know of, but we did have evaluations on the last day. So eventually I will get to see that. But this, I told them, I said, I was on TV for 37 years, and on TV, a lot of it, there's nothing you can say that hasn't been left on a voicemail. I don't know that there's anything you can do that's going to be terribly damaging. I gave him a couple examples. I had a guy when I first started ESPN and started on SportsCenter, and he wrote me a letter, and it was on I always say it looked like this Marina letterhead. It was very nice. And it just said, John, I have been watching. And then it just in capital letters just put painful. And it was like, thanks, Doug, or whatever. And he sent that to me. And I said, so don't worry about it. And then, Dan Patrick told me a long time ago, it's one of my favorite pieces of advice that Dan ever gave me of the many he did. And he said, when you start getting letters in the mail, read from the bottom up, so that if it says thank you or sincerely or best, Steve True, then read up to the top. But if it says go to hell or die or you're an SOB, then just throw it out, because the top's not going to be any better than the bottom. So I learned early on that you should read from the bottom.
All right. Was he accurate? Because I know you just not only accepted that, but you tested it.
Yeah, I
And so
tested it a few times. I'm like,
right.
yeah, he's absolutely correct. We'll call it good, and that's gonna be the end of it right there.
Talking with the
So
professor, John Anderson, to finish his first semester. Will you do anything differently the next semester based on insight, thought,
yeah,
whatever?
I think there's some other things that we'll do when I go back. I don't know that I have it specifically now, lesson to lesson, but it's funny. I think I will show them more bad stuff. Um, because you keep talking about this is like if you're writing a lead, this is good, this is good, this is what good looks like. Well, if you don't have anything bad to measure it by, it's kind of hard to tell what's good. And the couple of times when I brought that in, I said, okay, well, like here, let's look. We keep talking about how to write a decent. Here's ones that stink. And so when they could see ones that stunk out loud, then they were able to measure. So I think I may do some more of that, and um, they'll just be like I said. It's hard to put my finger on just exactly what it is, depending on what the lessons is. But yeah, hopefully everything will be a little tighter and a little better for them, and um, I will know more, and then we'll see. It'll be so it can be a completely different class. This one I had 17 young women and 3 dudes, and the next one is
17 women and 3 men?
17 young ladies and 3 guys.
I
And
would have thought
next
it would
time
have been the
it's
exact opposite.
and this, so it was just, I was randomly assigned this fall. I have, they have these freshman interest groups. So I have guys and gals that have a sports interest. So that'll be a little different. But yeah, so, and then we, again, in one of these things where we divided up the class, I had all 17 gals on one side and the 3 dudes on the other. And I said, you know what? And those 3 guys looking at, they don't feel like they're in the minority. There's 17 of you and there's 3 guys, and not one of those guys feels like he's in the minority, even though right now, if you guys wanted to, you could run them all out on a rail.
Good. How long was the class?
Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 to 10:45. So that was a good time, right?
Is that
9:30.
2 credit hours or 3? I think that would be 2,
3.
right? 3?
That was
really? Oh,
3. A lot of outside riding, but it was a good day part. 9:30 is nobody wants. That's not an unreasonable hour to get up. It's not a 3:00 class where they're like, God, I've had a long day and it's sunny out, I'm skipping out. It wasn't Monday morning at 8 where people are like, I don't know if I can get back from the lake. So I think that was helpful too.
compared to when you were a student, are they smarter? Are they more curious, less curious? How would you compare them in every way to you?
Yeah, so it's hard to look at that just with the class I had or the kids that stream through my office during the rest of the week, because I see my kids, Homer, right? My son just graduated this past weekend with his master's degree, and I have one that's going into her senior year. So I see them, and I think they're way smarter than we are. I also think they're way more stressed than we were. That's the other big part.
Wow. Explain.
They just were way, way more stressed. More kids are like, well, I was talking to my counselor, I was talking to my therapist, like way more than that. And I just,
Ooh, this
and
now we're
don't know
getting
what it
really
is.
good.
Yeah,
No,
I don't know
so
if-
what
if
would you
it's-
say to do? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but
Mhm.
if you didn't feel stress, and now someone like you says, kids, they feel stress, I wouldn't
Yeah.
know what to do unless you gave me a suggestion.
Well, it depends. When it came to an assignment, I'm always like, if that's stressing you out, come see me, because it's not. Believe me, if there's, you all have ability, so it is not hopeless. It's just figuring out the right road to get you to where you need to be, and then,
So,
then
without being too nosy about your kids,
yeah.
what qualifies to you as stress? To where
I think you can just see that. I just think you see anxiety. Like,
okay.
I just think you can tell kids, if you're, especially my children, like I'm around them all the time, so I know what they are. And if they get on the phone, you're like, okay, you just don't sound right. I think that's just sort of apparent. You get that, but these kids, you could tell some were stressed in a lot of different ways. It was kind of funny at the end of the year, curious, when you think. Too many tests or too many papers or too many projects due at the end of the year. Most of them were worried about like how they had managed their dining dollars and their dining stuff. And they're like, I just don't know if I'm going to have enough to eat in the last 10 days because I've taken it down to the wire. So like I didn't anticipate that. The way the cafeterias in the school, the way meal plans work was kind of different. That was unusual. And then so one day I gave them, because I was going to be gone, and I asked the person in charge, I'm like, could you cover my class? And they said, sure. And I'm going to do this. And I said, well, I have that plan next week. I said, can I cancel class? And they said, yes. And so I told them, okay, we're going to cancel class, but you have to promise me you goof off. My coach that I talk so reverently about, Homer, he used to always tell us during finals week, he used to always say, I don't know anybody who doesn't waste 2 hours a day. So come over here.
Oh, great. I'm stealing that.
And he goes, and take 90 minutes, and you'll still have 30 minutes to goof off. And that's plenty for a week during finals. It'll get you through. And so I was telling him, like, listen, I don't know anybody that wastes 2 hours a day. So you're going to on Thursday, we're canceling class. That gives you an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. Just make sure you go goof off. You can sleep in.
Would that be of just kids, or is that true for adults too? I don't know anybody who doesn't waste.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it probably is truthful in my life still, but maybe that's because I'm just a chronic underachiever. I don't do my best work till there's a deadline.
If you were younger, I'd then think that maybe you're dealing with some stress that I need to address. I ask this because our daughter would say something, and I go, "Don't go there. You're smart, you're pretty, you got the whole world. Nah, I'm not buying it." Yeah. And then somebody said, that's pretty stupid. So I had to address, the possibility, as you just said, and it fits. You can't ever assume that there isn't stress, even though you don't think there should be any.
Yeah, that would just be my sense of, again, watching my kids and now others and getting to know them a little bit, both in class periods and when they'd come by. Yeah, I think they're way smarter. They're way more advanced. They get stuff way earlier. But I do think that leads to, a lot of stress in their life. And then I think, the phone in their pockets doesn't help and those kind of things either. But I don't know that I can take any kid's iPhone away that's in my class.
All right. Now, you said that there's an implicit bias. I would say there's an implicit ignorance. Because if you just don't know, or however you were raised, you grew up in a certain environment.
Sure.
And I don't know that I would be offended if somebody said you have a bias, and I'd be like, what do you mean? Then we go like, I guess I might have, because I have no idea.
Yeah, but I think there is. I'm with you. I came that same way. So much of it is your upbringing. I always say I had my first roommate on the road was a guy named Tim Garrett, and Tim was from down in the Army base at Fort Leonard Wood, and he came, and there was at the time 25,000 people, students at the University of Missouri, and there were 1,000 that were African American, and Tim was black. And his school was way more diverse. So he came there and he's like, it's just lily white. And I came from a school in Southwest that had one African-American person. I came down, I thought, wow, this is the most diverse place I've ever been. So it's possible for two people to see. Yeah. That's why I always talk to the kids, like, everybody in journalism, we're like, we got to find the truth. We're going to report the truth. And I'm like, everybody's got a different version of the truth. Let's find what the facts are. And then somebody's interpretation of those facts can two different things. You get in a car accident, right? Did you turn or did I turn into you? So those things change. But I do think there are sort of implicit biases. I asked them, for instance, Homer, what's going on with Social Security? We assume Social Security is for old people, right? And I said,
yes, I don't anymore. I know there's some things you learn you wish you didn't learn, but
I said, would you be shocked to know that I got Social Security from the time I was 6 months old till I was 18, and it blew them away. Like, what do you mean? You're not 60 something. And I said, well, my father passed away, and that's part of what Social Security is there too. And you never think of that. So your bias is, Social Security, that skews to the older side. So, there's a lot of little things like that, but yeah, you're right. There's some of it is just, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
and
you
that's
wouldn't have known had you not lived it.
Right. So the idea is hopefully we know who we are, and we don't want to go away from those strengths, right? If somebody wants to write a piece about the Packers, I hope there was a reason they always came to me. And if there's somebody that wanted to write one around the Red Sox or the Boston Bruins, they went to Steve Levy. But that said, hopefully there are two sides to each story, but you also got to know what viewpoints that you're looking for. because
All
I
right,
think
well, I want to thank you, and I apologize to anybody who's offended that we spent the first 15 minutes doing this, but it's this is selfish me. I am fascinated to listen to you, especially someone who becomes a professor at your age and what's it all like. So if anybody has a complaint, as they did when I complained about when I said that Hank the dog should be in the Brewers Walk of Fame, they sent me a tweet, F you and the dog. And I said, boy, you nailed me there. I got no creativity to trump that. So, yes, back to sports with the great segment, The Professor, 7-2.5, and Jason Wilde next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
We are still dealing with an accident on 894 heading eastbound right at Forest Home. It's off on the right shoulder, but something to keep in mind if you can be heading through that area. We are seeing backups back through the hail in all directions. Southbound, for example, seeing backups from National Avenue down through the hail to Forest Home. Also seeing backups from the zoo down past Greenfield Avenue as well, but that's just general heavy traffic. Northbound on 43, we got backups out of the Marquette all the way to Keith. Southbound is backed up from Capitol Drive all the way down through the Marquette, all the way down past Chase Avenue. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, patchy fog, mild with a low of 51. Tomorrow, morning fog, partly cloudy with an isolated shower, a high of 66 at the lake, 75 inland. Weather is brought to you by National Liquor Mart at 16th and National in Milwaukee. Packed with the best beer, liquor, seltzer, and spirit deals in town. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, where your satisfaction is their plan of action. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
The best source for every piece of NFL news you need to know.
The people there made it a really great trip. The people in Green Bay were really nice, like literally driving ESPN people around themselves.
ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter is on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy every Wednesday morning at 7:30. Sponsored by Island Resort and Casino.
The Pancake Palace in Green Bay was outstanding. So really nice trip.
On 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care recently switched to James Imaging Systems for their document imaging technology. Why? CFO Sally Parente.
Well, I think that boils back down to the service. We have a good partnership with James Imaging.
With James, you get more than a vendor relationship. You get a local business technology partner.
Oh, absolutely. I can pick up the phone at any time, contact our representative, and he's right on it.
James Imaging Systems, business technology and local support for more productivity, more value.
Definitely. We're a nonprofit here. We have to watch every penny, so we really feel very comfortable in that area with James Imaging.
Comfortable enough to recommend James Imaging Systems to others?
Well, without hesitation, I would recommend James Imaging. They won't be disappointed.
James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
To be labeled as bourbon, a whiskey must be distilled from a mash that is at least 51% made of this grain.
What is corn?
Correct.
I'll take liquor for 800.
A cocktail of rum, grapefruit juice, lime juice, simple syrup, and maraschino liqueur is a daiquiri named for this American author.
Who is Ernest Hemingway?
Correct again, Marie. You're on a roll.
Liquor for 1,000, Ken.
Taking a shot of whiskey and immediately chugging a beer is a quote-unquote recipe for this drink, named because it was once served to workers ending their shifts.
What is a Boilermaker?
Unbelievable. Where can you find the best variety of beer, wine, and liquor?
Well, Ken, I am from Discount Liquor, where we have an encyclopedia-like knowledge of all things alcohol. We've been a family-owned and operated business since 1960, and we've all grown up with alcohol as a second language. Our business has literally served multiple generations of Wisconsinites. In Milwaukee, on 51st in Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha, on Main and Barstow.
Discount Liquor. Escape the city and relax at Lake Lawn Resort in beautiful Delavan, Wisconsin. Enjoy outdoor activities on Delavan Lake. Tee off at the lakeside Majestic Oaks Golf Course or unwind at the award-winning Calidora Spa. With both indoor and outdoor pools, there's fun for the whole family. Take a cruise on the Lake Lawn Queen. Explore stunning shores and historic landmarks and enjoy delicious food and drinks on board. Book your stay today at lakelawnresort.com, where everything is better at the lake.
This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN. It's time for Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
This is so good, I listen. 7-2.5, John Anderson, the professor, takes over and chats with Jason Wilde. Take it away.
Afternoon, Chase. How are you, bud?
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, my friend. Very kind.
49 and holding. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Pebble, did you know that? I didn't know that. Did you?
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? Happy birthday.
I was going to wait till the end and ask you what you got me.
Birthday too.
I got you some golf. I got you some golf balls. The question is whether you want the thank you golf balls or the religious saying golf balls.
Well, it's funny. I talk to the Lord a lot when I'm out there, so it might not hurt.
All right. Okay.
I always say, if you play golf well, that's just Satan recruiting. Because when you play well, you don't say a word, and when you hit it terrible, you talk to God all the time.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of watch that.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the religious ones. Go ahead.
Jason, do you have a schedule release party or anything tomorrow? Is there anything I need to get to your house for?
No, I'd love to have you. By the way, I'm driving through lovely Chilton, so if I lose you, that is why.
Was that the famous town where what's his name's from? Casper? They had this football team that gave up no points one year. I think it might be Chilton. I'll work on that. You guys go back to talking.
Yeah. So I know we have a show that will be celebrating the new schedule, but I'm not having any friends over. I'm not sure I have many friends left. I'll have to wait until after the girls leave for college to see if anybody's left. But the NFL's got the racket all figured out, man. Like they can create excitement about releasing a calendar. It's amazing. And now they're doing these little sprinklers that they're, here's a little game here early in the week. And, hey, tune in to Good Morning America to get a little tidbit on the Monday Night Football schedule. And, tune in to Good Morning Football on the NFL Network so we can tell you who the international matchups are going to be. They're good, man. They are so good at this.
How do we feel about, we know two things, right? We know the Philly game's on Monday night, so that's probably going to that's a rating bonanza. And then I guess they're playing the Bears late again, which isn't a surprise. They've gone to that with they've gone to divisional games late at the end of the year anyway. What kind of anticipation is there between the green and the gold package? Because literally that's all I care about now. After last year, I'm totally selfish, and Homer's not into that. He says I should be grateful for any damn game I get.
Yep.
But I am totally this is a big deal to me. Because all of a sudden we're all Packer fans, but it's us and them. And I don't like what them got last year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think my brother still has our family tickets, but there is that rivalry. I would say this. The most interesting thing about that Packers-Bears game in Chicago on that Saturday, the 20th, is that it gives them an extra day and a short road trip for them to play on Christmas on the following Thursday. And I haven't looked this up yet, but if my memory is serving me correctly, the teams that played on Christmas last year, they designed it so they had an extra day of rest to make it work. Because I think Christmas was on a Wednesday. So they played Saturday games, and then they had some of the Saturday teams playing on Christmas, if I remember that correctly. And Pebble can fact check me on that. But the bottom line is that the reason that game's interesting is that it opens up the possibility of playing on Christmas again. Now, the other thing that I think is interesting, and I've gotten some grief for trying to defend my guy, Ben Brust, who months ago had reported that the Packers were going to play in Dublin on September 28th against the Steelers.
Which you insisted was not happening.
Which we know is not happening now, but I do find myself wondering if at the time that Ben reported that was the Packers, the NFL, and the Steelers' intent. Because remember, Murphy had written right around that time in his column, his Saturday morning column on the first Saturday of every month, that he expects the Packers to play in a international game every other year. And I wonder if the idea of Rodgers being the Steelers quarterback and the possibility / likelihood of that made them decide, you know what, we're not going to do this. Or the Steelers said, hey, give us somebody else because we want that game on our home turf. And that's how they ended up with this. This I think is even more interesting. It's just not the Packers who are involved. This Vikings playing in back-to-back weeks in London one week and then in Dublin the next, or vice versa. Like that to me is a really interesting move, which maybe even sets the stage someday for that European league, that European division that we keep being told about.
I want you to know, Jason, that people in Ireland were told this was going to happen, and they were doing everything necessary. I don't know where it changed, but the information Ben had was 1,000% accurate. And
right, yes. See, this is I as much grief as I'm taking for saying this, I think that was the intent.
And the people in Ireland were high enough up that you wouldn't tell them because they were setting everything else, time, whatever. They were high enough up the food chain that when they say it, so I don't know. But for the reasons that you stated, I think that's why. That I'm not sure of. But the information was totally as a result of Ireland and what they were ready for and were doing.
I think it's even simpler than that. I think it is that game and those two fan bases are too big to give that game away at 10 in the morning.
Okay.
It's that simple.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that too. Yep.
I think the networks probably just said, I get it, and it's going to be on Fox, but I don't want that game there because let's put it on at, the 4:30 game, even though it's in Pittsburgh, or let's put it on even at 1 o'clock noon our time. It's going to be better. But I think it was just simply those two audiences are going to draw a huge, huge number, and that number should not be at 10 a.m. or whatever the time it is. So that's for my what it's worth on looking at the ratings book. Hey, did you swing by and did you go by coordinator day yesterday?
I did. Jeff Hafley told me that he has my sweatshirt, so I was happy to hear that. I'll say this, and I tried something a little different on Channel 3000. I just usually I would write a bunch of stories, and I still will, but I took the most interesting thing each of the coordinators said. So, like, for Bisaccia, I chose him saying that he felt like he had failed LaFleur in these playoff games. With Hafley, I took him saying basically that, look, we've got to, we were good, but we have to be different this year. We can't just run the playbook back because we had success. And with Stenavich, again, maybe this is just kind of just loose talk, but multiple times when he was talking about offensive line competition, he included right tackle. So are they down on Zach Tom to such a degree that now even his job is open for competition? Because that, to me, is surprising. Those are the three big takeaways I had.
Why would Tom I saw that, is it Jenkins decides maybe he'd like to have a new contract? And so I don't know if that plays.
So here's, and I saw, I had suggested this maybe a week ago, and then I talked to some people or texted with some people, and then Domovsky asked Steno if Elton wasn't at the offseason program because he was unhappy with moving to center, and both Steno and the people that I had corresponded with had said he was fine with moving to center, but his contract has 2 years left on it. There's no guaranteed money. He's got a base salary of like $11 million this year and like $18 million next year, and his cap number is like $24 million next year. And if I'm him, this is the rare time where I have some leverage because they have based their offensive line plan on him playing center. And I don't think he's looking for, some big lucrative 4-year, $100 million contract. What I think he's just looking for, and this is my understanding, is, hey, take some of this money that you're supposed to pay me, but you're not necessarily going to pay me, and guarantee it so I've got some security the next 2 years. Like, with those kind of numbers and no guaranteed money, theoretically, have him be their center this year, and if he's okay, but not, like, good enough to be an all-pro like Goody had said he could be, then they cut him next year. He's a cap casualty, and now he's scrambling for a job. So there were a bunch of people coming at me saying this doesn't make any sense. Trust me, this makes sense. And given how rarely I break any sort of news whatsoever, you should take a moment and think maybe Jason talks to some people on rare occasions who give him some insight that lead to a rare story from him that would be qualified as news.
Was that the exclamation point of that? You sound like my dad. And then I drop my voice, and that's how you know when I'm done.
Yeah, well,
what is
there's
the likelihood
always a
that
delay
they would
with you,
entertain that
too.
thought?
So I always struggle with the delay. So I was trying to give you some space to breathe.
What's the likelihood then that happens? Because that's not generally, I don't know, that any no team wants to do that until they absolutely have to,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, to me, when your general manager, when you say that you're moving him to center, says, and I quote, "We believe he can be an all-pro center." If you think he's that good, then my response as a guy you see as an all-pro center is, all right, then guarantee some of the money you owe me. You don't have to give me any new money, but guarantee some of that so I know where I'm going to be the next 2 years. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it's smart. And again, I mean, teams have all the leverage almost all the time, but at least to a small degree, them predicating their offensive line plan on him moving to center gives them at least something to work with. I mean, are they going to, maybe they could say, hey, go take a hike. You're under contract. We'll play Jacob Monk until you get here. But Jacob Monk, they didn't even put Jacob Monk in the game when they lost like 3 offensive linemen to injuries in one game. And by the way, their offensive line went to garbage when Elton went out of the game in Philadelphia. So anybody telling me he has zero leverage doesn't know what they're talking about.
All right, we're late, so I got to ask this. Is this a bad room of receivers? I don't think so, but I will change my mind if you think otherwise, Jason.
I don't think it's a bad room, but again, I thought Chewy, who's obviously old school, made the point, he called them a bunch of babies. I don't think they're bad guys, but I think, welcome to 20-something folks, and I don't mean to sound like an old man here because, Homer, you're way older than me, and John's slightly older than me. But this is how, we've had it now with Romeo Dobbs. We've had whatever this is with Reed. This is how guys operate, and they want to be reassured. And would I have rather Jaden Reed come out after Matthew Golden was drafted and posted a profanity-laced tweet that said, I'm going to effing compete my effing A off, and this kid's not going to see the field, and I'm going to get all the targets because I am motivated to show these guys that I am their number one wide receiver? Sure. Instead, his agent talked to the general manager. So, again, I don't know what the reasoning was, but I don't know how you look at that and think, oh, this is a good look for them.
Jason, you're the best. By the way, Wikipedia, John Anderson, born in 1964 or 65. What is he, a CIA agent? What? Doesn't have the date or the correct year.
Huh.
That's wild.
That is very wild. And yes, Dave Casper played on the Chilton team 1969. They were 8-0. They outscored the opposition 363-0. And, of course, went on to be a great
That's
tight end.
amazing. That's amazing. You can remember all that and can't remember what you had for breakfast at Ted's.
Well said. Thanks, Jason. Next.
All right, guys. Take care. Be good.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
Southbound on 41, a hefty ride from Good Hope Road all the way down past Capitol Drive. Northbound is backed up as well from Watertown Plank Road all the way up past Hampton. Southbound 43's got some backups from Capitol Drive all the way down to about Lincoln. Northbound's backing up from just north of the Marquette all the way to Keefe. And then we've got more delays along southbound 894 from Greenfield Avenue down and around the Hale to Forest Home. We did have an accident there on 894 eastbound at Forest Home. That has been cleared out of the way. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, patchy fog, mild with a low of 51. Tomorrow, morning fog, partly cloudy, isolated showers with a high of 66 at the lake, 75 inland. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
When you don't compromise on the court, you shouldn't compromise off of it either. Lose the calories, not the taste. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. Copyright 2024.
Hey Bucks fans, enjoy Michelob Ultra at Copper on King Milwaukee, Root River Center Franklin, Stenny's Lake Country Pewaukee, Distillery Richfield, and Kelly's Bleachers Milwaukee. Michelob Ultra, proud sponsor of the Milwaukee Bucks.
An ESPN Radio Extra Point with Chris Canty.
Atlanta Hawks started out, they had the 10th best odds, they won the lottery. Dallas Mavericks had the 11th best odds, they won the lottery. Like the NBA set out a couple of years ago to flatten the odds when it came to winning the draft lottery. They've done that now. And this is taking away the incentive of teams that are going through the organizational tank. And I say this all the time, players don't tank, but organizations do tank. Teams are going to have to start thinking twice about setting out to tank a season. When you decide you're going to trade away a player that is an asset, now all of a sudden it's not just about getting draft picks in return. It's about trying to get viable players that fit the timeline that you're trying to build in order to get a playoff contender. I think this is a win for the NBA as a whole. If you're Adam Silver, you're sitting here looking at it today and telling teams, this is why you don't want to tank.
The playoffs are in full swing, and you can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest game-changing moments to placing bets in just a few taps. Right now, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code JOEQ, J-O-E-Q, to get started today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. Find the Children is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted car. Call 1-800-294-0222. You'll receive the maximum tax deduction, and we provide fast, free pickup. Call 1-800-294-0222. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Call 1-800-294-0222. This advertisement was paid for in partnership with Cars R Us and Find the Children.
The Bog in Saukville is Ozaki County's best golf experience. 18 championship holes designed by legendary golfer Arnold Palmer cater to golfers of all skill levels. Settled amongst over 250 acres of beautiful private land, the Bog offers a truly unforgettable golf experience. Play the finest greens of Wisconsin, and after your round, have a signature cocktail while enjoying our Friday fish fry from the clubhouse overlooking the 18th green. It's time to golf, Wisconsin. It's time to enjoy the Bog.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
listening, show replays, exclusive content. It's all on the new ESPN Wisconsin app. Used to be WisconsinOnDemand.com, not anymore. Your state, your teams, your ESPN. The Wisconsin sports fans' best way to stay in touch with their favorite ESPN Wisconsin shows and keep up with their favorite teams. Find the new ESPN Wisconsin app in the Apple or Android app stores. The U.S. Game Show's Wikipedia says John Anderson, born May 13th, 1964. When it says
Incorrect.
64, so it's 65.
65.
Wow. All right. And just so you know, in addition to that, I also just put on Twitter, I always ask the Institute, which is what I call the people who follow. Institute, please work on adding he high jumped 7.5 at Missouri to every bio of John Anderson. Thanks. The ones I look at, both Wikipedia and Game Show Wikipedia, don't have any mention of that. And that
they used to say that because one time the guys at ESPN's their PR people, they're like, hey, go look at your pages, see if there's anything in there that's wrong or stupid if you've never checked it. And so I did, and it said it had my birthday, but it said I was born in Peru. So that was incorrect too.
Peru, Indiana? Oh, Kyle Mason was born in Peru, Indiana. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay,
no, in Peru. That's good. Not true?
Yeah. Oh, I had some guy ask me that too. Now, you were born in South America. I'm like, yeah, you should know. Don't believe everything you read
All
in
right,
that.
we will finish this discussion because I want to get to Pete Rose. But
yeah,
just so you know, I disagree with your premise of the significance of 7.5. And I would like to try to figure out other athletic achievements that you would find similar. Like 7.5 to me would be like running the mile in 4:20 or something, which is of note and impressive. But I will defer to you on giving me two other when you want to, because you know it's never going to change me. But I am curious on where you rank it as far as other athletic achievements that you think are similar. All right, let's get to Pete Rose. I don't have the record. I don't have the record when I said this how many years ago. He'll get into the Hall of Fame, but not till he's dead. They don't want Pete Rose spending all this time talking. So once he's dead, he'll get in. Now, the commissioner, what did he say today? Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose are no longer. But I don't know if the veterans will put him in. I would hope. I would hope they would. Shoeless Joe, I think, is more deserving to get in. My limited knowledge, but what I followed is acted like he didn't really do anything. Other team members took bets and tanked, but I don't believe that he did. He hit like 400 in the World Series or something. But what's your feeling about Pete Rose? If you were a veteran writer, which is I think it's going to come down to.
I was going to say, does it go to the veteran, or is this his first time really eligible? Does it go to the regular committee?
I think it's veteran because of his age, or he's been eliminated and removed, and then you move on to the next. But I don't know. The Institute will look.
So I have always been against him getting in.
Okay.
Which makes me kind of, I think, in the minority of people.
I don't think so.
Because I think he literally violated the cardinal rule that you come in everywhere that says don't gamble on baseball.
Yep.
And so I figure that's enough, and it says that there's permanent bans for that, and that's what happened to him. Where Pete Rose really always made me I'm like, I would just spitefully keep him out, is this idea, first off, that he's like, when he finally came clean, all I'm asking for is a second chance. And everybody gave him a second, a third, and a ninth, and a 20th chance, and he thumbed his nose at it, right? He kind of leaked out a little, well, maybe I did ballot, but it wasn't on the Reds. Well, maybe it was on the Reds, but never to win, never to lose. And so this little bitty, now when he finally comes clean, and he does it, somehow he's the victim of all this, I just don't buy. You know what you did. You refused to fess up the first 30 times, and now you're like, I didn't get a second chance. Dude, you literally got 20 chances. And you blew them all. And then to go the other way now, and then he's going to go, I'll show you. I'll go to Cooperstown. I'll sign baseballs. I'll sign things that yes, I'm sorry, but I'm baseball. Like you continue to make this into this money enterprise. And it, like, even though like I'm not wild about the steroid guys, but nowhere does we walk in the clubhouse and it say don't take steroids, but it does say don't gamble. They didn't have a policy. So I am curious to see more than anything. And you're right. I think that was totally, Pete's gone. Good. Here's your chance. So I do think that shows that maybe there's some vindictive nature there from the office of the commissioner. But I am anxious to see if anybody votes him in. And I don't know. Like, I think probably he does, but I'll be curious to see how many votes he gets the first time around, because I would not have ever voted for him, but I would have voted for Barry Bonds. So what does that tell you?
No, it tells me that it's a complicated thing. I think your position is very reasonable and easy to explain. It's what were the rules when you played? That's what matters. Doesn't matter if they change it now. And when the rules when you played, you broke all the rules, so you can't get in. First of all, I have a problem with baseball where they have character as an aspect of getting into the Hall of Fame, which I would hope that this would end that. That's insanity. Like, who could judge somebody else's character? Pete Rose was a great enough player to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know if I've told you my belief that if you are a convicted felon, then they can put a black bar or something over it. I think it's fair to say that a person in the Hall of Fame should not be a convicted felon. And when it is, then you put however you want to do that, but you clearly, I think, can set that as a standard. But this character stuff is just garbage. And so I would vote him in now that he's dead, which seems kind of mean. I think there's a spiteful aspect of it. But I don't have any problem with somebody saying you're crazy. He shouldn't be in for all the reasons that you just gave. And Barry Bonds, I would put in immediately because I believe that he was good enough to be in the Hall of Fame before he started doing steroids, but I can't prove that. That's just my analysis of what I think happened. Roger Clemens seems to be a little bit tougher because in Boston, the people there, some I knew, said he was done. And then something happened, and where'd he go to next? Toronto, but he may have been good enough even before that to have justified being in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how many Cy Youngs he wore, but what do you think about it? So you'd vote Barry Bonds in. How about Roger Clemens?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was probably Hall of Fame worthy on his own.
Yeah.
The problem I have with those high-end guys, and maybe I've said this to you or on this program before, is that the high-end guys are the guys that got all the flack, right? And the guy who was a career AAA guy that was never going to make the show that took it ended up as the 20 to 22nd guy in the roster and had a 6-year career and got a pension, gets off scot-free.
Yes.
Right? Like that guy had he's now can say he was a big leaguer. I was in the show for 6 years. I got a great pension. Those guys got away with murder. And it was just these, dozen guys at the top that we mostly, came after hard. Caminiti or Clemens.
And I want to know what percentage were doing it. It's my best defense of Lance Armstrong is that you can look and everybody was cheating. Everybody in cycling was cheating. So to say you cheated, well, then assess what was going on. And I feel worst for the few that didn't cheat. And I think Ken Griffey's one of those, but I can't prove that. Those people ruined their career or refused to do it, even though they knew, and I don't know what percentage at ESPN did they talk about it. I don't know if it's 50%, 70%, 90% of the players that were doing it.
What do we define as performance enhancing? Okay, so steroids, yes.
Made you throw faster, run harder, hit better.
Guys that took greenies, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to play. We endorse cortisone shots. There's nothing more performance enhancing than a cortisone shot. You don't take it, you don't play at all.
Correct.
You shoot them up on the field. So where do we draw the line? Which is what is performance enhancing that we like, and what is performance enhancing that we don't? Toradol's killing guys when it goes through this. That we don't seem to have a problem with. So I just want to just give me a line of what we're supposed to do.
And that's fine because you know why? I'm going to have you make the line. I want you to make the line.
Listen, if you want to take stuff for my amusement, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I want you. I have enough respect for you. You come up with a line, and we'll do it next Tuesday.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you like these guys that want to take stenosol, fine. If you want to go ahead and do that, all those guys are big leaguers. They're all big boys now. I guess if you do that, you maybe force guys who don't want to into that to compete. And so maybe that's not quite right.
Well, and then some people could die, just like what happened with wrestling. They let it go in wrestling, and they're dropping like flies.
I do
in
think
baseball, I think they would hold it against me as commissioner if they're dropping off. But yes, John Anderson, every week, what John Anderson would do if he was in charge. A new segment. I don't know if it'll exist, but I just thought of it. Next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN. With Wilde and Tausch, you won't miss a play.
And now, unless there's a big boy trade coming that I don't see on the horizon, Green Bay is going to run this thing back and probably pick up an early round draft pick to add to that room.
Presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
And you hope that these other guys will emerge and can add, but I don't see them making a J.R. Ewing type change.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Summer's getting closer, and Brewers action at American Family Field is only heating up. Don't miss a Midwestern throwdown between the Brewers and the Twins, May 16th through the 18th. Get a Jedi Jackson Churio Star Wars night bobble with a special theme night ticket on the 16th. Then get here early for an exclusive Brewers cribbage board giveaway for the first 25,000 fans on the 17th. Presented by 620 WTMJ. Get tickets at brewers.com.
Sip into a flawless summer. Hey, it's KBN's Brad Nortman. Let carbless, ready-to-drink cocktails be your passport to pool parties, patio hangouts, cookouts, and pure summer bliss. Carbless is here to spark a summer of flavor and fun. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, just 100 calories, and of course, all the good vibes. From fruity flavors to refreshing fizz, Carbless stands out in a sea of same-old seltzers. See what flavors fit your summer. Find your bliss today at drinkcarbless.com and enter to win a flawless summer prize pack today.
It's happened again. Another local organization switching to business technology from James Imaging Systems. This time, it's St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care. CFO Sally Parente.
We were unhappy with our previous vendor. It was always a big production. We also had some issues with pricing.
And now with James Imaging Systems?
The service, the value, and the ease with which we can just keep using their service and not having any big headaches. We're getting value here as well.
Just what you'd expect from James Imaging Systems, a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed company. AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, and digital transformation.
I love that they're a local company. They've been a wonderful business partner for St. Anne Center.
Make the switch to James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Looking for a Milwaukee tradition? It's Saz, and for nearly 50 years, Saz's have been serving up award-winning ribs that'll make your taste buds dance. Don't miss our festival-famous mozzarella marinara, the appetizer that put us on the map and keeps Milwaukee coming back for more. Whether you're heading to a game or just catching up with family and friends, make Saz's your place to go. 55th and State. Saz's, where memories are made and stories are shared, one delicious bite at a time. Saz's Steakhouse, the finest. A Milwaukee tradition since 1976.
Here in Wisconsin, one name is synonymous with fantastic frozen pizza, Palermo's. For almost 60 years, Palermo's has focused on feeding Wisconsin families. And though Palermo's has grown a lot since 1964, they're still family-owned. They're still proud to call Milwaukee home. And they're still committed to making the best frozen pizza possible. From their new and improved rising crust pizzas to their guilt-free Primo thin pies, Palermo's has a delicious slice for every appetite. Find Palermo's in your local grocer's freezer food aisle. Palermo's. Flavor is our family's business.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Kyle Walls. Right now, get 50% off your windows plus no interest and no payments for 12 months and a free entry door with your window purchase. Restrictions apply. Call 414-410-2000.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
Yes, it's time for me to tell you how far it is, how long it takes. Half hour south of Franklin. Yep, half hour south of Franklin. 38 minutes if you want to be a pest. American Place Casino located in Lake County, Illinois. Great table games, great slot machines, great sports book. And now they have comedy shows. You go to AmericanPlace.com/entertainment. Jay Moore. I'm sure the professor remembers him. Jay Moore. He's performing Saturday, May the 31st. But again, I'm the expert on just a half hour south of Franklin. Just a half hour south of Franklin. 38 minutes. American Place Casino in Lake County, Illinois. Again, for all the comedy shows, AmericanPlace.com/entertainment. With the Professor John Anderson, what I believe has to be one of the great high school events ever. Pitching for Chilton High School in the baseball playoffs was Dave Casper, future Hall of Famer. At the plate for Campbell Sport, guess who it was, John Anderson? Jim Gantner.
I was going to say, was it? I don't know where he was in high school. I just know he was an Oshkosh.
Casper's pitching, and Jim Gantner's at the plate. Oh. Guess what happened? Because Dave Casper can't forget it. Gantner goes yard on Casper, hits a dinger in the playoffs. He might have done it twice. Next time I see Gantner, I ask him. Yes, imagine that. Future football Hall of Famer against Brewer great in high school. Gantner takes Dave Casper yard, and the last I saw him, he remembered it like it was yesterday. Damn Gantner, I believe, was the exact phrase. All right, anything you want to say about the the NBA playoffs? Just take it. We got a minute or so left. I want to know, has it caught your attention? Are you watching the games?
A little bit. I'm kind of invested with my son in watching Oklahoma City play a little bit, so I kind of like to watch them. I'm shocked at how the top teams have so far been horrible in Cleveland and the struggles there. Oklahoma City's played better, but they still have some trouble. So it's the Stephen A. Smith, as genius as he is, has proved right. The Warriors, when they don't have Steph Curry, are not very good, and when they have them, they're better. Which is one of my favorite comments he's ever made. Certainly $20 million worth.
Now, I want to ask you this.
I'm going to tell you this. Here, give me this. How many guys do you think ran a 4-minute mile this year? Indoors.
Indoors?
Yeah.
In America
indoors,
or in the world?
Just in college. Straight college.
3.
144.
No way! I saw Dave Beatty, 1960, whatever.
How many guys you think jumped 72.5?
1. 12, but recognize how many years later this is, buddy. How many were doing it when you were playing? I don't care what they do it now.
Right.
How about when you were playing? By the way, if Oklahoma City wins the title, will that be the strangest city in the history of sports in America to be a champion of a major sport? Oklahoma City?
Come on, it's a nice place. Good town.
All right. I'm not saying it's not a good town.
Jacksonville seems cornier, but I guess that they've hosted the Super Bowl, it's not that way. How about this? It's not as strange as Green Bay, Wisconsin winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, who told you that? That's why you should be so happy and proud. Does that change your attitude on how lucky you are? No. Oklahoma City makes more sense than Green Bay. You sleep on that one. Golf show next.
Wrapping things up with delays on 43 southbound from Capitol Drive all the way down through the Marquette and over the high-rise